Okay, recording in progress. Okay, let's offer some prayers to Srila Prabhupada, without whom we wouldn't even have heard of we have Bhagavatam Gita. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Santi Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Devasesha Sindhivadi Pashtatara Satharine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. So I just begin, I give a little, as I did last week, just a little synopsis of what we covered last week. We've been hearing about the Prayag Brahman and the glories of his fervent devotional service. And Narada Muni was watching everything. And then he ecstatically came to this Prayag Brahman and began to glorify him as being a recipient of the Lord's greatest mercy. Because everything he had, his wealth, property, opulence, everything he had, he was using in the Lord's service. So Narada Muni is glorifying him. And then this Prayag Brahman, he begins to refute that. He becomes very embarrassed, and he's saying, well, what signs of mercy is there in me? How can you possibly see signs of Krishna's mercy in me? Yeah. So then he speaks about a king. He speaks what's called a southern king, and this Prayag Brahman begins to glorify this king and his kingdom. It's full of it's such a devotionally surcharged kingdom that many devotees and many saintly persons are coming from all directions, and everyone, there's an abundance of prasadam. And there's a very nice description of how it's nicely described that the Lord has appeared in his deity form there, and he's assumed a non-moving appearance, as though it's Krishna himself. So remember, there's nice discussion on the culture of worship, and particularly of deity worship. And it's described in this southern kingdom. This Prayag Brahman continues, this southern kingdom, there's like a festival every day. Yeah. And so many devotees have come there to reside there. And this southern king, he has given away his old kingdom to the Brahmanas. Yeah. And in this kingdom, there's no sorrow because of so much devotion. There's no, we spoke a little about on social disruption, and there's no fear there. And over and above everything, the king is engaging himself and his whole family in chanting the holy name of the Lord in great Sankirtan festivals. Yeah. So then Narad goes there and he arrives there and he begins to praise the glories of this southern king. And then this southern king, he begins to again refute that and saying that I'm a mere human being. What possible opulences do I have to actually give to the Lord? And then he begins to glorify, interestingly, he begins to speak about the opulence of the demigods. They are so blessed that they have got so much more opulences given by the Lord. And so they are, and especially he begins to speak about the Pundara, or Indra, as being the greatest recipient of the Lord's mercy. So then we leave what's known as earth, and now we're entering into the heavenly realms. And now it's going to hear about the devotees in the heavenly realms, beginning with Pundara Indra. That's a particular name of the Pacific Indra that Narada Muni is going to see as receiving the greatest mercy of the Lord. And that's where we pick it up. So we'll pick it up at text 70. And I think we're going to be leaving, this chapter will end, I think, soon. And then we're going to the Divya. That's it. Bhauma was the first chapters, and then Divya, the transcendental realm. All right. So if anyone would like to read, there's no hands up there yet. Please, anyone like to read and put a hand up? And perhaps I can't see the hands, but let me just.
You can't see them. There is four.
Oh, I can now. Yeah. So Sahachari Mother. Put a hand up. So let's begin, shall we?
Let's start with 71.
You can start at 70. So no,
70. 70.
70, yeah.
Okay. Mune visistas tatrapi tesam Indra Purandara nigrahe nugrahe piso vristaber loka jivana. My dear sage, the most distinguished of these demigods is Purandara Indra. He has full power to reward and punish, and he gives the world life by providing rain. Purandara is the name of the current king of heaven. Text 71. Trailokeswarat yasya yuganam ekasap saptatim asvameda satane pi sarvabhaumasya durlabha. He rules the 3 planetary systems for 71 celestial ages, a length of sovereignty no mundane king could earn, even by 100 horse sacrifices. Haya uchaiswarya yasya gaja airavato mahan kamaduk gaura upavanam nandanam cha virajate. Uchaiswarya is his horse and Airavata his mighty elephant. His cow can be milked for any desire, and his garden is the resplendent Nandana. Commentary. The king proposes that almost all the demigods in heaven, their king, Indra, is the most special recipient of Krishna's mercy. Indra is free to curse or bestow benedictions as he likes, whereas other demigods can only respond to the specific requests of their devotees. The king says, I am just the ruler of a few districts, but the king of heaven gives life to the universe. He rules the 3 worlds for a span of time unimaginable to a small king like me. Theoretically, one can attain the post of Indra by performing 100 faultless Asvamedha sacrifices, but even the rare king competent to attempt such performances is almost sure to commit some mistake in the course of them. Indra's horse and elephant are greater than all other because they were born from the churning of the milk ocean. Parijato tadadayo yatra vartante kama puraka kamarupa dhara kalpa druma kalpa latanvita. In that garden are desire trees like the parijata, whose flowers yield whatever one may wish. Those trees adorned with desire-yielding creepers assume whatever forms one may like. Esham ekena pushpena yata kamamsu siddhayati vichitra gita vaditatra retya vesasanandikam. Even a single flower from those trees can fully satisfy one's desires, whether for wonderful songs and music, splendid dances, bright clothing and ornaments, good food, or anything else. Ahikim vachyam param satsya saubhagyam bhagavan gata kanishta ratam yasya vishnur vamana rupadrak. And oh, how can I even describe Indra's great fortune? The personality of Godhead, Vishnu, has taken the form of Vamanadev and become his younger brother. Apadhayoyam asurakshan harsayan yena vistratam sakshat svikrute pujam tadvestitvam utaparam. Lord Vamanadev encourages Indra by shielding him from dangers and by accepting in person the elaborate worship Indra offers. But of course, you already know this and much more. Commentary. Lord Vamana is not Indra's brother, only in theory. He acts as a younger brother should, allowing Indra the pleasure of taking care of him. Indra insists on worshipping him as God, but Vamanadev reciprocates by gracefully accepting the offerings in person. Thus ends the first chapter of part 1 of Srila Sanatana Goswami Brihad Bhagavatamrita entitled Bhauma on the Earth.
Okay, perhaps just pause there. There's something which is which strikes me in these few verses, and also when he was speaking about the southern king, and that is that uh, uh, the, the southern king and Indra, they being judged as greatly fortunate, but because of being blessed with material opulence. You notice that? That's how it seems to be. That's perhaps that's what Sanatana Goswami is presenting here. And in one, well, not in one sense, but in every sense, everything, any riches or any opulence is ultimately coming from the Lord. But apart from this part, this end here, Vamanadev, the appearance of, or the mention of Vamanadev, who actually is not his actual brother, but he appears as if, so you could say that's probably inspired devotion in Indra. Anyway, that just came to mind. I don't know if anyone else noticed that. But any comments on that or any questions? So, as we leave Bhauma and go to Divya and go to heaven. All right. Let's see how it unfolds. So let's ask Kunamai, you can begin in chapter 2, Divya in heaven.
Chapter 2, Divya in heaven. Text 1. Sri Parikshit said, after praising the great king, Narada made his way to heaven. There is the assembly hall. He saw Lord Vishnu in all his brilliance, surrounded by hosts of demigods. Commentary. In the first chapter, Narada Muni began his search for the dearest devotees of Krishna by investigating comparative excellence in the devotional service found on earth. In the second chapter, Narada sees the superior devotion of Lord Indra and Lord Brahma. Text 2. He was decorated with sandalwood pulp, divine ornaments and garments, and a garland made of varied flowers from desire trees. Sitting comfortably on the back of Garud, he was worshipped with celestial offerings. Text 3. Brihaspati and other exalted sages praised his glories, and Mother Aditi pampered him. He in turn delighted each of them with his affectionate comments. Text 4. Siddhas, Vidyaharas, Gandharvas, and Apsaras recited prayers. They cried, "All glories to you," and sang, danced, played music for all his pleasure. Text 5. In words that all could hear, the Lord assured Indra that he need not be afraid of the Daityas. Kirti Devi offered the Lord betel nut, which he gracefully accepted and chewed. Commentary. Narad saw the demigods worshipping Lord Vamandev in the assembly of Indra, the Lord's elder brother. Srila Sanatana Goswami comments that the demigods were following one of the two standards described in old textbooks on deity worship, like Vishnu Bhakti Chandrodaya, the common standard in which 16 items are offered for the Lord's pleasure, beginning from Padya, Agraha, water, or alternatively, a more elaborate worship with 64 items. While the worship was being performed, the Lord's mother, Aditi, held his soft hands and cared for him in various ways. The Siddhas recited prayers for his satisfaction, and the Vidyaharas played musical instruments. The Gandharvas sang, Apsaras danced. The Lord told Indra not to fear the Daityas, for the Lord would protect him, if necessary, killing all the demons. As he said this, he raised his right lotus hand in the gesture of fearlessness, Abhaidana Mudra. Then Kirti Devi, Lord Vamana's wife, lovingly offered him some betel nut she had carefully prepared. He happily took it between his thumb and finger and elegantly placed it in his mouth. Seeing all this, Narada was very much pleased. Although he had come to the court of heaven to meet Indra, he was first able to see the Supreme Lord worshipped by the assembled demigods. The worship was appropriate because Lord Vamana is the most important resident of heavenly region. In this scene, the Lord not only showed his supremacy, but revealed his favor towards Indra by accepting his worship. Text 6.
Just a little pause there. Again, we came across this before, and I think I spoke a little bit about it, about deity worship called Soda Sopachara, which means 16 items, which can be further expanded into 64. So this is what we offer 16 items of worship on the altar in the morning to Gornitai and Giriraj. And if anyone is interested, we are teaching this Soda Sopachara Puja in Radhadesh in September. We're probably teaching devotees how to worship Gornitai with 16 items. And they will have an assessment and they will learn all the different stages of worship, which includes Manasa Puja and Dhyana. So anyway, if anyone happens to be in Radhadesh at that time, you can learn that 16 items of worship. But any other questions or comments here before we let Kunumai continue? Okay. You can read on Kunumai. I just thought I'll put that in there.
Okay. Text 6. Continuously chanting the Lord's glories, Indra described with great joy the ways the Lord helped him in the past. Text 7. Indra shone forth in his own opulence as he sat on his own throne next to the Lord, shedding his 1,000 eyes, a downpour of tears. Commentary. It was natural for Indra, the ruling king of heaven, to have his own throne in his assembly hall. Yet while his servants stood by, holding his royal paraphernalia, his umbrella, chamara fans, and so on, Indra worshipped the Supreme Lord in the person of his younger brother. Indra loudly chanted the Lord's glories, describing the Lord's kindness to his devotees and his other attractive qualities. Indra then recalled the special favors specially shown him by the Lord, such as the Lord's regaining for him the rulership of heaven, which had been seized by Bali Detraraj. Text 8. Lord Vishnu then proceeded to his own residence. Indra followed him for some distance and then returned to the assembly hall where Narada greeted him and began to speak. Commentary. It would have been inappropriate for Narada to disclose his mind to Indra while Indra was worshipping Lord Vishnu. Now that the Lord had left, Narada greeted Indra, saying, "Glories to you, please accept my blessings." Text 9. Shri Narada said, "You have surely received the Supreme Lord's mercy, because demigods like Surya, Chandra, and Yama, what to speak of the other rulers of the planets, all obey your orders." Text 10. Sages like me are your subjects, and the Vedas praise you as the Lord of the universe. For you bestow the fruits of religion and irreligion. Commentary. The principal demigods, among them the Vasus, Maruts, Rudras, and Adityas, all obey the orders of Indra. In the first of the Shrutis, the Rig Veda, many of the hymns are prayers to Indra and descriptions of his glories. These Rig Suktas, the Indra hymns, praise him as the Lord of the universe. Narada agrees that this is fitting and in his own words gives evidence of Indra's sovereignty, his power to send pious souls to heaven and sinners to hell. Text 11. How wonderful that Lord Narayan has become your younger brother, born of the same womb, honoring the ways of civilized life. He always treats you with respect. Commentary. Indra's greatness is spiritual as well as material, because the Lord of the Lords becomes his brother. Not only is the Lord born of the same womb, but he accepts the inferior role of a younger brother. In that role, he teaches rules of behavior by his own example, showing, for instance, how a younger brother should respect his elder brother. Lord Vamandev submissively does what Indra tells him. Text 12, Shri Parikshit said, the sage among demigods thus profusely declared the extreme good fortune of Indra. As he chanted Indra's glories, he played his veena and danced. Commentary. Remembering the southern king's declaration, the demigods are the real recipients of Lord Vishnu's mercy, Narada took this opportunity to speak out on this topic. Text 13, Indra then welcomed Narada and in a soft voice humbly said, my dear Narada, expert in the arts of Gandharvas, why are you making fun of me? Commentary.
Perhaps if you pause there for now, it goes on another subject next. So we're hearing a little bit of interesting insight about Lord Vamanadev's relationship with Indra. So he takes a subordinate role. Isn't it? I was trying to follow that. I hadn't read those details before. The subordinate role of Indra as a younger brother and offers him protection. Did I understand that right? That was what was described.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So very interesting. And now Indra.
So Prabhu, how is he younger brother? Because they say born of the same womb. So
It was said it was as if, I think, let me just go back. It said, at one point it said he's not actually the younger brother, but he's acting as if he is the younger brother, as far as I understood. They didn't want to catch it.
no, that's exactly what is written. However, further down it says born from the same womb of the same mother. So
then
that to me was a bit confusing.
yeah, me as well. Anyone can help us with this? Perhaps it might be one of
Text 11. Text 11 is the one that
text
says.
11.
Yeah.
Text 11. Let's text 11. So how wonderful that Lord Narayan has become your younger brother, born of the same womb, honoring the ways of civilized life. Grace treats you with respect. Interest greatness is spiritual as well as material, because the Lord of all Lords becomes his brother. Not only is the Lord born of the same womb, but it's quite straightforward, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's got sorry, Prabhu, it's got Lord Narayan, then it's got Vamanadev, and then it's got Indra. I mean, so there are three personalities here.
Yeah, what's happened is Narada's come in to the assembly of Indra, and he walks in when the Lord is being worshipped.
Which is Lord Narayan, right?
Vamanadev, as far as I understand.
Okay, so it's Vamanadev.
Being worshipped.
Right.
And then Vamanadev goes, and then Narada Muni then begins to ecstatically, as he always does, begin to glorify Indra. So I guess we just take it as it's written here. He was born from the same womb. So, of course, Vamanadev appears not like an ordinary child. As we know, the Lord appears by his internal potency. So it's not the same circumstances as a normal condition birth. He appears from the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm still a bit lost here, because how wonderful that Lord Narayan has become your younger brother. And then suddenly he becomes Vamanadev.
I think
see in text 8
of Aditi.
it says Lord Vishnu.
Sorry, isn't the story in Srimad Bhagavatam somewhere?
Well, they haven't quoted anything here reference as a reference.
I think the general praise given is Vishnu, because Vamanadev is Vishnu.
Yeah,
But it's actually Vishnu who's appeared as Vamanadev.
yeah.
So in the beginning, okay, we're gonna have to get into this.
I think they're just using another name to describe the same personality.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to
As
say.
Krishna
Yeah.
has many names, so they're calling Vamana Narayan.
It,
You know,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the general address is Vishnu, but the details actually it's Lord Vamanadev.
okay, yeah, that's simplified. Thank you, Prabhu.
I think she clarified that. That's what I was trying to explain. Yeah. So that's clear then.
Yeah.
So now we go and let's hear about. Yeah, let's pick it up at text 14. Where now Indra's gonna tell the truth. So let me just like to read. Let's look. So John the volume of it. I can see your hand there. You can read from text 14.
Are we
See.
we didn't finish 13, or did we finish 13?
No, we didn't finish the commentary.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah. Sorry, 13.
Okay. Indra then became welcome Narad and in a soft voice humbly said, "My dear Narad, expert in art of the Gandharvas, why are you making fun of me?" Commentary. The Gandharvas are clever and tricky. A person well trained in their art certainly knows how to manipulate others with false praise and ridicule. Indra knows that Narad is not an ordinary Gandharva, but Indra is enjoying a humorous exchange. Text 14. Are you unfamiliar with what ruling heaven means? Don't you know how many things we demigods have had to flee heaven in fear of the Daityas? Commentary. Narad may deny praising Indra in vain or making fun of him, anticipating Narad's objections. Indra here begins to argue against the praise that he is the dearest devotee of the Lord. Narad certainly knows the troubles the demigods have in holding on to their power. The demigods have many times been driven out of their rivals, forced to flee disguised as sannyasis, to hide themselves on the earth, and so on. Indra thus refutes the statement Narad heard from the king that the demigods on the strength of their good fortune live in the realm of heaven and act and travel however they like. Text 15. One of them, Bali, once even took over as Indra. He appointed demigods to all the posts like sun god and moon god, and took for himself my shares of sacrifice. Commentary. Narad has just told Indra, the sun god and the other rulers of the planets obey your orders. To counter this, Indra questions the value of the demigods' controlling power, which the demigods are always in anxiety of losing. He also questions whether he is actually glorified by having such uncertain rules as his order carriers.
Rulers, not rules, rulers.
Rulers as his order carriers. Indra ashamedly remembers how he almost died from hunger and thirst while Bali usurped and enjoyed Indra's share of sacrifice. Indra thus responded to the southern king's statement, their food is the nectar of immortality. Text 16. Our father and mother then performed many severe austerities by which they satisfied the Supreme Lord Achyuta. The Lord responded by appearing as my brother in a mere partial expansion of himself. Commentary. Indra makes light of the Lord's reciprocation with him, since the Lord answered the request of Indra's parents only after some delay and then was unwilling to manifest himself fully in his original form.
So we're all familiar with this pastime, isn't it? This is directly from Srimad Bhagavatam, pastime of Bali Maharaj, who comes, or Bali Maharaj, and then the Lord comes as Hanumadev, as you know, begs 3 pieces of land. And so he takes up the whole complete universal manifestation and then reinstates Indra and the demigods in a position. That's wonderfully described in Bhagavatam. So we're hearing a little synopsis of that. And it seems like, Indra had to fast. He was banished from the heavens and described here, was it described? He more or less had to live an impoverished life of hunger and thirst in hiding from the daityas, of who Bali Maharaj is the leader. But he's a great devotee. That's the whole story. Wonderful adventure in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So you was going to say something, Robert?
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. All right, so let's continue reading. So I've been scrolling around again. Okay.
Now I'm lost. Are we on 17? Yes, 17.
Yeah.
Text 17. And even then, instead of killing those enemies, he only embarrassed me. Returning from kingdom after taking it from Bali with a deceptive request for charity. Commentary. An aristocratic lord like him might well feel demeaned by such treatment. Instead of fighting for the demigod's rightful property in an honorable way, Lord Achyuta resorted to tricks. He disguised himself as a dwarf, asked Bali for just as much land as 3 of his steps could cover, and when he obtained that charity on the pretext, made himself larger than the universe.
I just remembering, there's a nice sweet pastime, which I just remembered, is with Prabhupada. This was in regards to a Rath Yatra ceremony in America, where the devotees were applying from the local municipality to have the Rath Yatra festival. So in the application, they described they would have 3 carts, which will be in procession on the main road. So, but they didn't give the dimensions of the carts, So the authorities, they envisioned or just pictured like a little hand pulley cart. So when it came to the Rath Yatra day, there was these great big juggernauts, these great big carts, much to the complete bewilderment of the police and the authorities. But it was too late. These big carts were rolling down the main street. And of course, big carts means lots of people and lots of traffic jams thereafter. Now, then the devotees told Prabhupada about it, about all the events leading up to it and how they applied just to have 3 carts. But they tactfully, I don't know if they did it on purpose, but they tactfully didn't give the dimensions. And I told Prabhupada this, and Prabhupada laughed. He says, yes. Yes, this is, how would he say? Yeah, this is in our scripture. This is how we do. Just like Vanamadev said he would only take 3 steps of land. Prabhupada was laughing heartedly because they said only have 3 small carts. So Vamanadev said, I'll only take 3 steps of land. You see the connection? But the devotees had great big carts and took over the whole city practically, or at least the inner section of the city. So Prabhupada was laughing like anything, actually. Little, what do they call that? Little antidote, I just remembered. So this is our, he said, yeah, this is our system, or this is in our disliberate succession. Just sometimes not being so straightforward. So here, yeah, this interesting pastime, Lord Vamanadev is not being very straightforward here. but to serve a highest purpose, to serve a higher purpose, using trickery, you know. Anyway, yeah. Hare Krishna. All right, you can read on if you like, Robert.
18. We residents of heaven are tainted with faults like rivalry and jealousy. For such acts as killing Brahmanas, we get entangled in the reaction of sin, and we live in constant fear of losing our post. So what happiness do we truly enjoy? Commentary. The southern king had said that the demigods are always worshipable by men. He had cited several reasons for this, but here Indra answers. He refutes the statement that the demigods are fixed in goodness. By reminding Narada that they are quarrelsome, he defeats the statement that they are sinless by recalling how he killed Vrita, Vishwarupa, and others. And he dismisses that their bodies are effulgent by pointing out that the opposite is true because the demigods constantly anticipate some fall from their position. As Lord Krishna comments in his comments to his friend Uddhava, death is not at all pleasing, and since everyone is exactly like a condemned man being led to the place of execution, what possible happiness can people derive from material objects or the gratification they provide? Bhagavatam 11:10-20. Therefore, according to Indra, the demigods are undeserving of worship because they are hardly better than ordinary men. Text 19. You must also know that my brother, Lord Upendra, intentionally disregarded me by taking from heaven the Sudama hall and the Parijata flower and bringing them to the earth. Commentary. Here Indra refutes the claim that among the demigods he has the special favor of the Lord. The Supreme Person, whom Indra knows as his brother, Upendra, appeared on earth in his original identity, Sri Krsna, to favor the Yadus and his wife in Dwarka. Krishna removed from heaven the Sudama assembly hall and the Parijata, the flower that grows only in Indra's realm. These affronts were particularly intolerable because Krishna brought the Sudama and Parijata to Dwarka on earth, a planet of lesser being, where death is prominent. The imperishable Sudama and Parijata should not have been subjected to such indignities. Narada had used Indra's possessing the Parijata flower as a reason for praising him, but Indra retorts that he has only been embarrassed because of the flower. Krishna, having stolen these two treasures, proves that Krishna is more favorable to the devotees in Dwarka than to Indra, from whom he does not hesitate to shame. For a devotee to feel dissatisfied with himself is a natural part of devotional service. Indra expresses natural humility here, and the other Vaishnavas Narada will speak similarly. Each devotee thinks that Lord Krishna only seemingly favors him, but really acts to satisfy devotees who are dearer. When someone praises a devotee for being a recipient of Lord Krishna's mercy, the devotee normally tries to refute the praise, but even if he sometimes doesn't, for that we should not fault him. Devotees speak from the transcendental humility of pure devotion, and the most intimate devotees sometimes speak from the transcendental anger called pranaya rosa. In any case, devotees can never conclusively prove that Krishna does not favor them, because the opposite is true. He is actually pleased with them.
Right, should we pause here then? If you're familiar with the end of these pastimes from Srimad Bhagavatam, and next is going to bring up, he hasn't mentioned about Govardhan Hill next, and that's coming up. How we know that story from the 10th Canto Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna's Leela. He takes, who was the queen? Who was it Rukmini who was demanding the Parijata?
No, Satyabhama.
Satyabhama. Yeah, she has specific mood. She was demanding. And wasn't there was a war between was it Indra who or was it Shiva? I think Indra then tried to stop
Indra.
the Lord.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that,
He ran.
but that's not, yeah, to take the Parijata. Yeah. But the Lord, of course, the Lord was very successful and he took the Parijata flower to Satyabhama, along with the Sudama Assembly Hall, which is a particular assembly hall where there's, remember he brought it to earth, but the assembly hall had the potency of anyone who was in that assembly hall would not suffer from any of the ailments that human mortals do. Disease, old age, etc., tiredness, they would experience, the Sudama hall. And that was brought to, as described, the cloud, the place of human beings. So that was an affront to Indra. Yeah. It's like, yeah, so his kingdom was attacked and take. But interesting, and it comes up how Gopi Pranadhan, and I was bringing out, which is what's very prominent in this part of Brihat Bhagavatamrita, and that's the humility of the Vaishnavas, the humility of the devotees. And this will be repeated and spoke of more, yeah, devotees, I was reading today, where was that stood at? Devotees are embarrassed when they're praised. And we can see this, isn't it? Even in our temple, when there's a festival, there's some recognition for devotees, and one devotee is glorifying someone else, and the devotees don't like to hear it, And it's a very sweet exchange, but that's a natural mood of a devotee. And he speaks, Gopi Pranadhana speaks of his transcendental humility. But then interesting, this transcendental anger, pranaya rosha. Yeah. So the most intimate devotees sometimes speak from transcendental anger, pranaya rosha. So I think that would be in regards to the gopis, isn't it? Could we say that? I don't think the cowherd boys get angry with Krishna. If they do, it's just a playful anger. But the Rani definitely expresses pranaya to Krishna.
Pranaya cannot be between two men or two women. It has to be a man and a woman.
Yeah, so there you go. So that's further proof. Gopi Pranadhana must be alluding to here the gopis, who obviously they will be spoken of ultimately. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I cut someone off. Was someone's going to say something?
No, that's fine. I was just going to say it's got to be the gopis.
Yeah, pranaya. Yeah, it's very, very. Yeah, the relationship has to be very intimate. He said, yeah, the most intimate devotees. So the most intimate devotees are the gopis. Yeah. Yeah. So the point here also of the humility of Indra. Yeah. Yeah. But anything else from here? And a little side point here is that do you know I think it's in the Krishna book. There's a particular waterfowl, there's a particular water bird that doesn't belong, that's not part of this material world, but it's here. Can anyone say what bird that is? Waterfowl. It's not a trick question. Think of an elegant waterfowl bird. It's really elegant, and it's almost not a swan. Yeah, yeah. Think of a swan and the way it's majestically neck held high and
Yeah.
glides in the water. You know, it's a heavenly bird actually. And if I remember correctly, the swans from heaven followed the Parijata tree and smell to this earthly realm. And from that point on, swans were present here on earth. You know?
Oh, that's interesting.
If you didn't know that,
I
I
think
read. I'm not going to find a quote for that, but I remember that somewhere. Just one of those things I remember. But next time you look at a swan, you can remember that pastime of Satyabhama, Krishna. Krishna playing the role of a henpecked husband. Yeah.
Prabhu, this country, I think all the swans belongs to the queen.
Yeah, belongs to the queen. Yeah, and actually, they belong to the queen, and they're protected as well.
Yeah.
Now, there's also different types of swans as well. There's something called a Hamsa swan, and that's a particular swan from the heavenly planets, Hamsa swan, that can separate milk from water. You may have heard that as well. Particular swan, Hamsa swan, and devotees are known as Hamsas. Anyway, off the subject a little bit. Yeah, and also perhaps to feel dissatisfied is natural part of devotional service. Does that sound all right with everyone? It's natural if we compare ourselves to the great attainment of great devotees, but it's a different type of, it's not the dissatisfaction of the senses not coming in contact with the sense objects or some disappointment on the material platform. It's something which is actually nourishing spiritually. To feel a lacking is actually good because it makes us not complacent.
Yeah.
No, it will help to take us forward. There's that verse from the Bhagavatam in the Chatur Sloki that one should always be searching for the absolute truth in all places, in all times, and all circumstances, both directly and indirectly. But again, it's not the same dissatisfaction as a materialist. It's the complete opposite, actually.
It is.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's natural for a devotee, as Gopi Pranadana is bringing out here. It's a natural part of devotional service. So Indra's feeling that. He's feeling undone. He's feeling like he has not obtained. He is not the one who has attained the greatest mercy of the Lord. Although he's personally worshipping Vamanadev, but still, out of great humility, he is comparing himself to others who have more mercy. And that we'll hear about. But we're going to hear more about Indra's wrongdoings for now. Any other comments or questions? Well, we have 18 devotees with us now. Hare Krishna, welcome everyone if you just joined us. That's who was reading there? It was Chandravali, wasn't it? No, who was reading? Let's have another reader, perhaps. Monica, Mother, you can read from text 20.
Text 20. He ruined the worship the cowherds had been offering me for many years, and he burnt down my favorite forest, the vast Kandava. Commentary. Krishna persuaded the cowherds of Raj, headed by Nanda Maharaj, to worship Govardhan Hill with the offerings collected for Indra Yagya and to cure Agni of a stomachache. Krishna destroyed Indra's Kandava. Is it how are we pronouncing this? Kandava.
As you said, the
Kandava forest. With the help of.
That's a great dramatic story. That's it's there. I was reading in the Mahabharata as well. It's a very dramatic story where the whole forest is burnt down for the pleasure of Agni, because Agni likes fire. And that's what gives him strength. So the whole forest was burnt down. Anyway.
Krishna destroyed Indra's Kandava forest with the help of Arjuna, Indra's own son. Text 21. When the Lord was entreated to kill Vritha, who was devouring the three worlds, the Lord responded indifferently, merely sending me on his behalf. Commentary. Indra's killing of Vritra, described in the hymns of the Rig Veda, occurred when the planets were being formed by Brahma and his assistants. Vritra had interfered with the universal construction by keeping the oceans trapped inside mountains. The sages of the Rig Veda glorify Indra profusely for killing Vritra, thus freeing the waters of the universe. But here Indra belittles the incident. The sixth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam discloses that Vritra, under the demonic exterior, was the pure Vaishnav. Indra's killing him was more tragic than glorious.
So just stop there. This is Vritasura, okay? Vritasura. So he's demonic. He's being a demon was just exterior, as it said. He was a pure Vaishnava. So the question is, who was he in his previous life?
Chitraketu, Maharaj?
Yeah, Chitraketu. That's correct. He was cursed by
Mother
Parvati. Mother Parvati.
Yeah, Parvati. And how did Chitraketu take the curse?
Graciously.
Yeah, he said,
He took it
"Thank you,
willingly.
Mother, for this curse." Yeah, and I was just reading today actually by Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur that Chitraketu was traveling around the universe in a great flying what's it called? Vimana, with thousands of Vidyadhara ladies, thousands of them. And as we know, the pastime, he came past and he saw Shiva's wife, Parvati, sitting in his lap, and he smiled. And, we know that part of the story. But interested in that, and sometimes questioned. He had thousands, and it was just him, and thousands of Vidyadharas in this Vimana.
Yeah.
But the reason that was so, because these Vidyadharas, they are expert singers. So and they was all singing the glories of the Lord. So Chitraketu, being a pure devotee, he wanted to engage in kirtan, and he wanted the best singers to actually praise the glories of the Lord. So that's what they was doing. They were singing the glories of the Lord, all these Vidyadhara ladies and Chitraketu. That's what I was doing when I was traveling, I think, throughout the universe or the universes. So anyway, another little side little point there, if you didn't know that. Yeah, so this is Vritasura, and this is a wonderful, again, this is a favorite part of Bhagavatam of Vaishnavas, is wonderful prayers by Vritasura, where although he's a demon, he's actually speaks like a devotee. And he's asking Indra to come and kill him, because he has no fear of death whatsoever. Yeah, it's a very wonderful, again, Srimad Bhagavatam, everything's wonderful from Srimad Bhagavatam, but specifically the killing of Vritasura by Indra. I think it took him 100 years to kill him, to sever his neck using his thunderbolt.
Yeah.
And then what happened to Indra then after that? Because he killed a Brahmin.
He had to hide himself to repent.
Yeah, he had to go incognito.
Yeah. Is that when he goes under the lotus stem or something? Is that the one?
He has to take an invisible form.
Yes.
And that's what I think, isn't it, where sin personified is chasing him?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. There's a graphic picture of that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, with this lady, she has tuberculosis, she's coughing up blood, and she's sin personified. And she's chasing Indra to inflict the sinful reactions upon him, and Indra's fleeing for his life.
Yeah.
And he takes this form and he hides away in a lotus
stem.
Yeah. So, this is all in the 6th canto, as it's mentioned here. So, Indra's been through a lot in his devotional service, You know, he's been through we were speaking the other day in class, the questions and answers. You know, he's been through the mill, as I say, while executing his devotional service. So he's definitely not taking, you know, definitely he's not agreeing with Narada to hear all this glorification, you know. Anyways, let's perhaps read on a couple more minutes left. I think we're going to hear about Govardhan. So you can continue reading. Sorry, I cut you off there.
Text 22. With no regard for me, he destroyed my capital, Amravati, and built a new residence above all others for himself. Commentary. Indra alludes here to an incarnation of Lord Vishnu named Vaikuntha, whose Srila Shukadev Goswami describes in the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Patni Vaikuntha Suparasya Vaikuntha Surasat Mahai Tayo Swa Kalya Gyani Vaikuntha Bhagavan Swayam Vaikuntha Kalpito Yena Loka Loka Namaskritaha Ramaya Pratayam Yena Devya Tat Priyakamayaya. From the combination of Subra and his wife, Vaikuntha, there appeared the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vaikuntha, along with the demigods, who were his personal plenary expansions, just to please the goddess of fortune, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vaikuntha, at her request, created another Vaikuntha planet, which is worshipped by everyone. The eternal spiritual planet, Lord Vaikuntha, manifested within the material world, is called Ramapriya, dear to the goddess of fortune. It is located above all other planets, even Lord Brahma's. Strictly speaking, this spiritual kingdom displayed within the material universe is never created or destroyed, but because from our point of view, the planet Ramapriya appeared as a certain time and place, we consider it new compared with the internal manifestation of the same kingdom of God outside the material realm. The Lord may pretend to create it as his pastime, but he is only unveiling before material eyes what normally cannot be seen in this world. Indra also mentioned the incarnation of Vaikuntha in Sri Hari Vamsa. Speaking after Sri Krishna stole the Parijita flower and defeated him in battle, Indra says, Idam Bhakti Midan Yamcha Bhagwanam Vishnunu Kritam Upare Lokanam Adikam Bhovanam Muni. O sage Lord Vishnu sacked my capital city and then built a new planet above all others. As described in the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Vaikuntha appeared during the period of the 5th Manu, Revata. This was a long time before our speaker Purandara assumed the post of Indra. Srila Sanatan Goswami presents two possible explanations of how Indra could have met Lord Vaikuntha. Either the avatara mentioned in the 8th canto is an earlier one and met Indra in a previous day of Brahma, or during the 5th Manavantara, Lord Vaikuntha only conceived the idea of his new planet, Kalpito Yena Loka, but constructed it later during the 7th Manvantara, now current.
Perhaps you read one more, then we'll stop. You can read this one in the purple, and we'll pause there for this one.
Text 23. He accepts our worship on the strength of our parents' devotion and at the insistence of my priest, and then after taking our offering, he at once disappears, returning to his own abode. Commentary. Narada might have suggested to Indra that he consider how kind the Lord is no matter what the Lord does. After all, the Lord's mind, being deeper than 1,000,000 oceans, cannot be fathomed, and so his pastimes are inconceivable. Because the distress of others causes him great anxiety, he always shows compassion in whatever way he can. Indra should try to understand in his higher sense Lord Vamana's apparent neglect of him. That is all right, Indra replies in this verse. The Lord would indeed be showing me his compassion if he would just stay here with me permanently, accepting my worship. Then I could tolerate everything else he does. But much of the time he doesn't even let me see him. Indra parents Kashyap and Aditi intensely worshipped Lord Vishnu in their previous lives, and they continue to worship him now. Indra's priest Brahaspati is also an enthusiastic worshipper of Vishnu. Indra reasons, therefore, when the Lord appears in order to take my offerings, he does so not from compassion for me, but to reciprocate with the devotion of others. And in any case, he stays only long enough to take his offerings and then goes away. He answers the southern king's statement that Lord Vishnu accepts in person the elaborate worship Indra offers.
Okay, thank you, Mother. So let's just stop there. And this is where, yeah, it's been brought. So Indra's been, although he's speaking against his being praised, it seems like Narada is making a strong point, actually, that the Lord only acts out of compassion. And that's why he's involved you in these different pastimes. But that's not, but then Indra takes a little bit deeper. No, actually, if the Lord was compassionate, then he would stay with me. But he doesn't. He just goes. He comes, accepts the offerings, and he goes. So in that way, he's speaking about his dealings with the Lord, you know. All right, we're paused there then for today, and we're up to text 24, and let me just have a little peek through. Okay, we're going to hear about Brahma, Dwaka, and things like that. Okay, thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Thank
Next
you.
week again, Krishna.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.